All right, everyone. I got an amazing guest here for you, Quinton Dial. He is an awesome dude, just a stud of a human being. He's probably twice the man I am, literally, physically, and he's just an awesome guy. He reached out to me a little while back, just wanting to talk about hunting stuff, and honestly, I didn't think it was real until we had chatted a little bit. So, great guy. Obviously, he's a Clemson or just kidding. He's an Alabama guy, and I had to give him crap for that. He's played football at Alabama and multiple, was it one or two teams in the NFL? I know the San Francisco 49ers was one of them. But Quentin, who are you? And in a nutshell, who are you? And how do we get to know each other?
Uh, like you said, my name is Quinton Dial, and I'm a God-fearing man, family-loving man. I played football all the way up through Pop Warner to high school in the state of Alabama. Then went and played a little collegiate ball at the University of Alabama. Got me a couple of national titles there, and got drafted to play for the 49ers. I did 4 years there, and then 1 year for the Green Bay Packers. So in a nutshell, that's what I did. That's not who I am. Who I am is, I'm a God-fearing family man. I have three beautiful children and a beautiful wife, and we live out here in California now. Love to be outdoors, like to hunt, fish, and be outside with the family. I like to smoke meat a lot. um, I just like to be around people, man. I'm a good people person, and I enjoy being around good quality people.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and that's what's so great about it is that you've accomplished some amazing things, man. Like just the fact that you made it into the NFL and you played for some of the top teams in the NFL, being the 49ers and the Green Bay Packers, them having both of them having a rich history, even though I'm a little sour against the Green Bay Packers because I'm a Steelers guy. So, they last time they met in the Super Bowl didn't end so well for my team. But honestly, it's awesome, man. And just kind of to like people can see you in the screen, but how tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, double the man I am. Yeah, it's like when we first started talking, you brought up how you've got a 34-inch draw length.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they
yeah,
have to make a custom bow for you. They don't even make arrows. Like I think when they come out of the box, they're like 31 inches. So they got to make
yeah.
Lincoln logs for you. And all this, it's just crazy, man, to hear that kind of those kind of stats. But guys, I guess start off in Alabama. Where did your journey start with hunting in the outdoors?
So my journey started when I was a junior in high school, and I got asked by a couple of teammates did I want to go hunting. I'd never been hunting before, so I'm like, heck yeah, I'll go. I'll give this thing a, see what it's about. Went and I fell in love with it. They put me up in a tree stand, and I'll tell you, I've never seen so many doe and spike bucks in one sitting. And ever since then, I fell in love with outdoors. Obviously, playing ball, I could only do it when I could because fall and hunting season fall right together with football. So I only could do it when I can, like on a bye week or something. But now that I'm retired, oh, dude, I'm in the woods every chance I get.
Exactly. Exactly. And I don't know much about the opportunities out in California. I know there's some opportunities out there where you're at, right? And we can get into that in a little bit. But again, it just, and I'm bringing this up because it's still like it's hard for me to picture. I'm sure you weren't, well, maybe you were 6'5" in high school, but getting like you are the tree, right? But how did that work? Climbing. I've never sat in a tree stand myself, so I can only imagine an individual of your size getting up there.
Dude, it was a pretty big. It was a two-man stand that they put me in. So I think it was a pine, a pretty good sized pine that they put it up against and ratchet strap it down and all the, make sure all the safety issues were taken care of. But yeah, it was quite the picture of me up in a stand
I can
against those
imagine.
pine trees.
Yeah, but I mean, if they were football buddies, I'm sure they were big guys as well, so they knew how to deal with that.
Oh yeah, there was some pretty big dudes as well.
It's awesome. And now, did you start out archery hunting, or was it rifle, shotgun? What was kind of where did you start?
I started with rifle and shotgun. I recently got into archery because there's more opportunity with that. You can
Yeah,
hunt a
that's
lot more.
no, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of a big thing about archery too. Like right now, I'm still able to chase elk and deer into the late season here in Utah because we've got until the end of November for deer, and then we have until middle of December for elk. Doesn't make it any easier, but the fact that you get more opportunities is pretty cool. And so that's definitely a big draw for bringing people into the archery community. So you started out in Alabama. It's obviously a little bit different than out west where you are now, but you know you crushed it in football. Like you said, you won a couple of national championships with Alabama, the Crimson Tide there, and
Nice.
I guess so. You took a step back from hunting, or did you kind of mix it in while you could when you were playing those sports? Because I can imagine at such a high level, like high school football in and of itself is it takes a lot of training, a lot of dedication. And then you're exhausted, you're wiped by the end of the day. So I can only
Right.
imagine you know 100 times more in college and then in the NFL. So did you mix it in, or did you just put it on the back burner while you were pursuing that career?
I would only do it during the season during my bye week. So I would only get, we get a week off. So I would only get like two or three sets during the season until after the season. Then I could hunt all I wanted after that. So I
That's
couldn't go every week like I wanted to because football at the NFL level is physically demanding and it requires a lot.
yeah,
A
no,
lot of
for
people,
sure.
a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Like my day started every day at 5 a.m. and I didn't get into bed until after 10. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And it's interesting because you know, and that's during the on season, but even during the off season, you're still training because it's hard to anyone that's gone through any kind of fitness journey understands that it's difficult to kind of have a slump, you know, the off season, quote unquote, and
yeah.
then try and pick it back up. It's easier to maintain that level of fitness year round, and then of course ramp it up when you need to rather than having those lulls in your year. So you know you didn't really have an off season, I imagine.
No, I would, depending on how my body felt at the end of the season, I would only take a week, maybe 2 weeks to just decompress from the season. Then I would get right back to it. Because like you said, like at that level of sports, like if you take too much time off, you're gonna get caught by the next guy, and the next guy's gonna surpass you because essentially this is how I feed my family. So I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
let someone else take food off my plate.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's a cool story. Like I know a lot of people don't like Tom Brady, and I was in that camp for a while. I'm sure you got to compete against him multiple
Yeah,
times. You correct me here, you were a defensive lineman, correct?
correct.
Yeah, so you were, I mean, you were head up against a guy like him and other quarterbacks, obviously of high caliber. But I used to really dislike Tom Brady, and then I found out about his story, and he's a hard worker. He's not
Yeah,
naturally talented. He's naturally smart, but he's
yeah,
not physically talented like a lot of quarterbacks out there. And so his story, you know, of the whole you just brought up, you know, you get caught sleeping, basically, someone's going to take your spot. And
right.
he did that to Drew Bledsoe. And Drew Bledsoe even said he was quoted saying something along the lines of the moment he got injured, he knew he wasn't getting his spot back. Like, he just knew.
Yep.
And so I agree with what you're saying there. I can only imagine being at such a high level, you know, it would be hard to be able to take some time off because you take that time off, you see the other person creeping up right behind you. So that's intense, man.
Very, very
Yep.
intense. It's easy to get to the NFL in a sense, but it's harder to stay in there year after year after year. And like what Tom Brady's accomplished with over 20 years plus in the league, like that's a testament to all the hard work, dedication that he's committed to his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But going back to, I mean, to your game, man, being a defensive lineman, that takes a lot of skill, that takes a lot of effort and a lot of training. Is that something that, I mean, did you play defensive lineman growing up? Did you kind of move into that spot after high school? How did that come about?
Yeah, I played offensive lineman and Pop Warner. Then I got moved to defensive lineman, middle school, high school, and then that's where I flourished, and that became my main position.
That's awesome. What did you like most, I guess, about, or what do you like most about defensive line?
I get to hit people and I don't get in trouble.
There's no holding. Well, I guess technically there is, but it's harder
Yeah,
to get a holding call as a defensive lineman. You get to just
yeah,
swim past and throw people out of the way. And oh man, that sounds like a lot
yeah.
of fun.
I'm a lot stronger than a lot of people, so like I just throw people out the way and I get to get to the ball.
Yeah, exactly right. So with you being 6'5", I mean you're a big dude. But were there a lot of linemen that are around your height? Were you kind of not average, but like just barely above average there, or
There was a lot of guys around my height. That'd be anywhere from 6'8". Some guys made me feel small. I'm
jeez.
talking about guys 6'8", 6'9", and then there would be guys, 6'3", from 6 foot to 6'3", in that range. I played with some guys two guys that were 6'8", and I'm like, man, y'all making me feel small.
Man, that's intense, dude. So that's really cool, man. I love, and honestly, you're saying is easy to get in the NFL. I know I get what you're saying there, but it takes a lot of effort, man. Like there's a lot of people that have dreams to get there and they never even make it into college, like a D1 college, right? And
Right,
so the fact that I mean you've had an illustrious career, and honestly, defensive line, a lot of the linemen in general don't get a lot of respect. It's
right,
usually highlights on quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, and then you get the occasional linebacker and the occasional lineman, that gets highlighted. But it's usually the offensive people that get that highlight. And I
right.
think people forget how, I mean, there was a study done. I can't remember what the study was, but they were saying that the contact that you make with the offensive line is equivalent to a car wreck.
Yeah,
And you guys are doing that hundreds of times in a game,
yeah,
thousands of times in a career. Like that force right there is ridiculous. And that comes again from your training, where you've learned to engage those particular muscles in the way that you need them to work. So let's kind of start, I guess start back again, kind of at the beginning of your career. When you were getting into sports, were you someone that naturally took it up, naturally took up weightlifting, naturally took up conditioning, or were there parts of it that you kind of had to struggle through, because you saw the end goal of I want to make it to the NFL, and you were like, this is kind of a necessary evil?
okay. I'm gonna just be straight up honest with you. I hated every aspect of lifting and conditioning. But when, my high school coach sat me down and I told him, I'm really not a fan of lifting because I never lifted up until high school or condition. I had a conversation with him and he said, this is something that you should take serious because this could pay for your college education. After that, I realized that that was true. And that's when I truly took it serious and I worked my butt off at the high school level, collegiate level, to try to make a name for myself. But to answer your question about what was your second question? Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Just because generally there's two types of people, I would say, that either love the fitness aspect of it or they don't. And it's just kind of a necessary evil to get to your end goal. And it sounds like
Right,
you kind of fell into the other camp where it was kind of the necessary evil, but you're willing to take it on because you saw, the vision that you had to get to the NFL, right?
right. Like yeah, like I didn't hate it and I didn't love it. I think I was growing up, I wasn't educated on the fitness, anything related to fitness and how I should eat and how I should train and sleep and all the aspects of that. But honestly, my end goal was not to make it to the NFL. My end goal was to make it out of the situation I was in because I was living uh, below poverty, you know, and I just wanted to make it out of that situation. That way, my kids would never have to endure the things that I did. So I wanted to make this sacrifice for my kids. That was, that was on my mind at the time.
That's that's crazy to think as a high schooler that you had the foresight. Maybe you weren't, maybe you didn't have those aspirations to make it to the NFL. And honestly, I can say that the people that I know that are high achievers, they didn't start in like high school or at a young age of seeing that they could be that. It kind of grew, that vision grew through time. They started with goals like what you're saying right now, where you're like, I just don't want to be here anymore. And
Right.
you hear other stories like that as well. But your story, I mean, that's powerful, man. It's humbling and sad that a high schooler is thinking along those lines, that you're already thinking so far ahead that you're like, I don't want my kids to be in this spot. But at the same time, the level of maturity that it takes to think about that. Whereas in high school, I mean, as a high school male, you're thinking about impressing your buddies, all the girls, you're chasing skirts during the summer. It's just, there's so much other stuff and distractions that can happen. If you don't, even if you don't get wrapped up in, drugs and alcohol as well, things that
Right.
were going around my high school, it's, there's so many distractions out there. And the fact that you had that level of maturity and foresight to even just think, I just simply want to be successful for my family, my future family. That's amazing that you were able to think that way. And I mean, it's turned out really well. So when did you, I guess, well, I guess we'll stick in the high school there. So your coach pulled you aside and said you should probably start taking this seriously. That's a good man right there as well. Are you still in contact with him?
Absolutely. Still talk to him to this day.
That's awesome. That's awesome that he had also the ability to, because and you get into this situation as a parent as well, where you kind of get in the mindset. There's some days where you're just like, man, like you just kind of go through the motions. And I'm sure
Right.
this is the same for high school coaches, for teachers, and that's why you get so many kids that don't like their teachers, because the teacher is just going through the motions, ready for retirement, etc. And the fact that he could pull you aside and just say, hey, look, you've got something in you. You need to also add some work to the talent that you've naturally got.
Mhm.
That's amazing. And kudos to him for being able to see that and push you towards a goal that maybe you didn't even have at that moment, but he could see for you. So at that time, you got into, well, walk me through getting into Alabama on scholarship for football. I mean, that's, again, usually number one or at least the top five in the nation year after year. Nick Saban was the coach, I imagine, because he's been there
Yeah.
since the dinosaurs. And so like how did that go? Walk me through that process of, high school to Nick Saban recruiting you.
Oh man, it was crazy. So I would say between my sophomore and junior year of high school, that's when the name Quinton Dial like blew up in the football, um, Alabama high school football, right? Nick Saban got a wind of it. He actually came to visit me at my high school. Tuscaloosa is about an hour 15 from where I went to high school. So he came to visit me at my high school and we had sat down and he said, I have a lot of plans for you. I could utilize you and your talents and skill set, you know, to help you become a better player and a better man. But first, academically, I want you to be something that you've never done before. I want to ensure that you graduate. And so that was something that like I never honestly looked at going to college. I was just trying to get out of that situation that I was in. And so once I sat down and talked with him we sat down probably for an hour, hour and a half and talk about everything. He offered me a scholarship, dude. And I was like, I'm committed to you.
That's awesome.
And so once I committed, I just had to finish high school at that point, and I was on my way to Tuscaloosa.
That's crazy.
Once I got once I got to Tuscaloosa, it was a rude awakening
Yeah.
because the nutrition program, like from day one, you're on the nutrition program, you're on the fitness program. Everybody has their own personal goals that they have to achieve in order to make the team cumulatively better. Excuse me. Um, and so I had to lose some weight, and I had to gain muscle, and then I had to work on my conditioning. And so like once I saw that and all the things that they had in front of me, all I had to do was just do it, put in the work. I'm like, oh man, this is, I'm not saying that it's easy, but it is in a sense, right? Like if everything is laid out for you, all you have to do is show up. I'm like, man, here we go, right?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And like I have nothing but love and respect for Coach Saban because he has taught me so much from the football aspect that's so and it's so relatable to life. And these are all things that I could raise my kids by. Like and it's so true. Like there's this thing called he we lost a game, right? We lost maybe 4 games in my collegiate career. And they call this thing death by inches. You don't run to the players, you don't run to the ball as hard this time. You don't lift weights as hard this time. And those are all things death by inches. Oh, coach, I'll get it next time, or I don't have to do it as hard this time, or I don't have to do it right this time. Death by inches. And every time you think that you have arrived in a sense, right, that thing gonna creep up on you and it's not gonna never let you forget. And that's something that I will take to my grave and I'll ensure that my kids, know these things.
No, definitely. That's that's you've had a couple things there that I want to point out here for people just because um you've got an amazing story, man. The fact that you weren't raised in a situation where you had connections. You built
Right.
those connections through your hard work. And I love the fact that you're like it was nice because then they planned it out, right? They put all the brain work into it and you're like, I'm just here to work, man. And you just got that drive that you're wanting to just work, and you're okay with that. And that's something that you want to do. And then learning the idea of, death by inches, it's it's so true in so many aspects. A lot of
Right.
people, what happens, and I've done this multiple times in my life too, where things are going well and you pull off the gas.
Right.
And the fact, I just want to highlight too, the fact that you said I've only lost, or you didn't say only, I'm going to say only, you only lost 4 games in your entire collegiate career. Like that, dude, that is intense, man. That is crazy. But it just goes to show the level of coaching, the dedication that they expect from you guys. And when everyone works together, how that comes out about. And something else that I've heard him say recently, and I'm sure you heard this along with many other speeches and talks and locker room chats and everything else that came from Coach Saban. But he was explaining, and I'm probably going to end up butchering this, but something along the lines of how mediocre people will never accept
Okay.
people who excel because
Right.
they don't
Yep.
understand the work that it takes to get put in there. And they're going to call you cocky, they're going to call you all these other things because they're jealous, and they might even recognize that that's what's going on in their own brains, but they
Right.
can't accept people who excel. So
Right.
something along those lines. There's I heard a clip of his speech on that, and it's so true. The fact,
Yes.
the way you're saying how they mapped it out for you at Alabama, this is what they expected. If you didn't do that, I'm sure you either got a butt chewing or someone else filled your spot like that. I mean, it was just, and just high level stuff. So that's really cool to hear that you literally, fitness and sports pulled you out of a situation that you wanted to get out of. And
Right.
you were born naturally talented, being 6'5". I mean, that's not like if I could just eat my vegetables and get to 6'5", maybe that'd be nice. But you had some natural talent, but the fact that you were willing to put in the work, that's a lot of people don't do that, and
Right.
so that's a lot of respect there, man, that you could do that, pull yourself out of that situation. Now you're in Alabama.
Hmm.
You've only lost 4 games your entire career. And again, the guys listening, he didn't say only. I'm saying only. That's significant. So and I'm sure those 4 were not acceptable from Coach Saban at all. I'm sure you guys had
At
some
all. Uh,
amazing practices after those losses, I'm sure.
uh, uh, Terrible.
Sometimes you're probably wishing you were back and not making it to Alabama. But so walk me through that. So you've gone through your college career. Okay. You've already excelled some of the expectations that you had. This other vision's forming. Were you at that moment thinking of the NFL, or were you still like, I'm going to get my college education. I've loved it here at Alabama. I'm going to move on and have a family and use my degree for something.
So funny you ask. So going my senior season, we're like on a bowl game break. So I graduated in December, which is early because we had to go to school year round. I graduated in December. We have the national championship against Notre Dame in January. And so we had just started practice preparation for that. And I'm sitting down talking to my family about like, what do they think? Like, do they think I should pursue professional football, or do they think I should just go straight to work? I want to get everybody perspective, just see what everybody thinks. So after sitting down and talking with the fam, I was like, they told me that they think I should pursue football. I was like, all right, well, we'll see how this goes. After the bowl game, after we beat Notre Dame, I sat down with a couple of agents, interviewed them, and found a guy that I like. He was out of Maryland. His name was Travis, and I talked with him. He was like, "Man, I think you have all of the physical stature that you need to play at this level and play for a long time." I was like, "All right, well, shoot, we'll see. We'll see how this goes, right?" So draft rolls around. I get a phone call on the third day. I got drafted in the fifth round because I had some injuries in the college. Phone call comes in from 408 area code. I'm like, where is this 408 area code? San Francisco 49ers, man. They call me. And dude, I am like, I can't even sugarcoat it. I cried like a baby, dude. Because
Mm-hmm.
it was just like so rewarding. Like all the hard work, the dedication is like finally I feel like it's being acknowledged. And now the work I feel like is just beginning, right? Because I have to do this all over again, which I don't mind by any means, but it's just like it was a great feeling knowing that I got that phone call and everything that all the work and stuff had paid off at that point. It was a really good experience for
That's
sure.
amazing. No, for sure, dude. That's I can't imagine getting drafted, and that's kind of been something that, so it sounds like you were willing to go either way,
Yeah,
whether go into the workforce or go to the NFL. So you
yeah,
started out as a fifth round draft pick, which still, again, you're kind of downplaying things, which I understand. You're a humble man, but frick, dude, you got drafted into the NFL. Come on, like that's amazing. And so
absolutely.
yeah, so you get drafted, right? You've probably never been uh well, I guess you did travel for Alabama football. So I was going to say you probably hadn't been further west than, I don't know, Missouri, but you've traveled around at this point. So you get the call from San Francisco. You're all excited about that, right? Now obviously what's going through your mind is, great, I've had an awesome time at Alabama, but at this point starting at ground zero again. And so you go into the NFL. Did you move
Mhm.
out to San Francisco at that point, I imagine? Um,
Yeah, I had to move out within a month. I was due to report within a month.
mm,
So I ended up driving across country because I've never been past west of Texas. So I
mhm.
wanted to drive and see the country. So it took 2 days and drove out and got an apartment and got set up before I was due to report. And I tell you, I saw some pretty crazy stuff on that drive, dude. I've never seen so many accidents.
Yep, that's crazy.
People driving crazy, dude.
Did you stop at any attractions or anything like that you were looking to maybe see?
Yeah, I stopped at the Grand Canyon, stopped in Wyoming. Where else did I stop? Stopped in Arizona, no, New Mexico.
Mm.
New Mexico. Heard a bunch of elk bugling.
Mhm. Oh man.
Yeah, I was ready to go hunting then at that
Yeah.
point.
Had you ever heard an elk before then?
No,
You're
I'm
probably
like,
like,
what
what the
is it?
heck is that? Yeah.
Like what? Like you see the pictures of them on the side of the road signs. I'm like, dude, I want to go get one of them things.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. That's awesome, man. So you make it out of San Francisco and you start training. I'm sure their training regimen was even more strict than Alabama, which is probably hard to say, but
It actually was because at the collegiate level, you're only allotted to dedicate, I think, 40 hours a week to football, and the rest
mhm,
is uh, to academics. There's no academics at the professional level. Dude, this is
mhm,
like from, I think, well, initially when we got there, we had to be there at 8 a.m. all the way to 5.
mm.
And so I'm like, crap, man, this is going to be a long day. And so I had to I had to really like mentally talk to myself because I wasn't obviously used to doing any of that. Football all day, like we had meetings, watching film, taking notes. You only get an hour lunch break. And I only say an hour, but like I know some people get less than that. But you get an hour lunch break and then you only get 20, 30 minutes to get ready for practice. And you got practice for 2.5, 3 hours some days. It's like, dude. Then following practice, you got more meetings.
Mhm.
So it makes it a long day, that's for sure. But it was definitely humbling in the beginning because I didn't know what to expect. I was just going into it blind basically, but optimistic at the same time because I wanted to try to make this a great experience for myself and make a name for myself.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense, man. So again, you're coming in. So it's weird for me to say kind of on the lower end of the totem pole
Oh,
because you
for
were a
sure.
fifth round draft, but I mean, it sounds weird for me to say that because still you got drafted into the NFL, but at the same time, you're at that higher echelon of people. And so in a way, you're looking up to them and you're wanting to show out. You're wanting to do what you can to impress the coaches, your fellow teammates, and let them know, hey, I'm here for a reason. I'm not just here to fall off or be part of the practice squad. Like I want to make a name for myself here. And so that's pretty cool. The fact that and you didn't have any family in California, so it's
Oh,
just
dude, I
you.
didn't have anybody. It was just
Yep.
me.
There you go. Yeah. So that's difficult. That's hard in and of itself. Especially with days and people are going to think about this and I watching sports growing up, participating up through high school, but watching sports, some people are like, man, what it would be like to be in the NFL and just get to play your favorite sport all year. And I'm like, yeah, but like the other side of me, kind of what you're talking about, it's hard to stay up and not be drained from the meetings. I can
Yeah,
imagine, when you got a dark room with film rolling that you've watched the same play 10 times in a row and you're trying to figure out, where you need to make sure you are or what mistakes you made, you're mentally drained. And then you're going to go get
right,
physically drained. And then you're more mentally drained later with more meetings. So, like, it's not like it's just some breeze where you get to go play ball, the turkey bowl in the park, on Thanksgiving.
right,
Like, it's a job. And so I
right.
can imagine, that being difficult.
Then, what a lot of people don't know either, if you get caught on your phone, they'll find you.
Mm,
So my phone always stayed in my locker, so I didn't have anything like that to distract me. So I'm not giving them any opportunity to find me
yeah.
unless it's on the field.
So, and then talk about, not having a social life. I mean, that's literally your family. And then you're out there by yourself, no family after work.
Right.
And most of the time people are social during the day. So then you get off work and you're just getting to get started and you're drained and you're
Uh,
you're expected to go out and have a social life after you've been physically and mentally drained all day.
right. Yeah, I had no social life for quite a while because,
Can't imagine why.
dude, I was after work, dude. I'm exhausted. I'm going home and
Hmm.
relaxing. I really don't want to talk to anybody. Like I've been talking all day with my teammates and coaches. Like, I just want to be by myself and watch cops or something on TV.
Something that's not football, right?
Exactly. No football.
All the round objects in your house are now square because you can't even stand looking at another round object. That's crazy, man. But yeah, no, it's we laugh about it, but at the same time, like a lot of people don't think about that aspect of it being a job. Like, people get to watch you on Sunday. I guess now there's Thursday, so you got what? Monday, Thursday. It's going to be every day of the week soon, but you got Monday, Thursday, Sunday night football. It used to be just, Sunday and Monday, and people think they're like, oh, that's so cool. You get to watch them for a couple hours, but they don't realize all the work that's been put in behind the scenes to get to those
Right.
couple hours of game time. Right. And game time
Right.
probably even I can imagine that some days it even felt easier than some of your practice days.
Oh, for sure, dude. Game day was easy. Like, in a sense, especially you compare it to like a training camp practice. Training camp was brutal. And I know like a lot of older guys, much older guys than myself, like they had to go through much more grueling practices, but like not to diminish anything that they've been through. But I think I had some pretty tough training camp practices as well because we would practice against other teams across the league. Like one year we went to Baltimore and the humidity,
Mm.
whoa.
Mm-hmm.
They had, oh, dude. Then we went to Denver another year. It's like I couldn't breathe up there, dude. Like the air is so thin.
You're like, we're high. How high up here? Mile high? What
I'm
the
just,
heck?
I'm like, dude, like I feel like I'm out of shape right now.
Mm-hmm. No, for real.
But like it was definitely crazy, but like a good experience, I would say, because it essentially made me the man I am today. Like, and I can appreciate those things and all those lessons along the way. That's how I look at them. There was just a lesson that I learned along the way, you know.
Yep. No, for sure. So, I mean, how many championships did you win with Alabama?
I got two national championships and one SEC.
Okay. All right. And then how many Super Bowls did you go to?
No Super Bowl, but a loss in the NFC championship.
That's what it was. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah,
So even then, man, that the NFC championship's no joke, right? And
yeah,
that was with the San Francisco 49ers, right?
yeah.
Okay,
We played Seattle that
that's
year,
right.
and yeah, I still get ticked about that.
All right, we won't talk about that. But so you had some so I mean you played some high level games. You
Yeah.
definitely and you won quite a few of them as well. And so you did some amazing things in your career, man. And so you obviously went from fifth round draft pick to playing, and you started in the NFL,
Mhm,
right? At
mhm.
defensive line. And so I mean that's a big jump too.
Yeah,
Going from fifth round to starter.
yeah,
You had to surpass some people and then
a
hold your
lot.
spot, you know. And so that's awesome. That's a huge accomplishment. Uh, Kudos to you, man. That's a big deal. So let's talk a little bit more now, kind of about your family. So you started out at a young age thinking about your family ahead of time.
Hmm.
And then so you've built this amazing career. You've worked your butt off, right? Now you have a
Hmm.
family. And a lot of people would say that having their first child is better than what the people would imagine is winning a national championship or a Super Bowl or an FC championship. Uh, but those people have never been in those games. So I want to ask you, how does that compare? Does it even compare? Is it two different? Because sometimes, you compartmentalize things and they can't even be compared to apples and oranges. But what are the feelings of becoming a dad and, holding your baby for the first time and
I
holding that
honestly,
championship trophy?
I honestly don't think that there is any comparison. Me personally speaking, I think the blessing of a child is something special. Is a special gift from God that should be compared to a ring or a trophy. Honestly, I think me personally holding all three of my kids is one of the greatest accomplishments I'll ever endure. Probably one of the most frustrating and best jobs I'll ever have is being a dad.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think that there's no comparison. Like people will say, like, yeah, I would compare it to winning a Super Bowl. It's hard to say that when you've never been in that position.
Right. Exactly. That's why I wanted to ask you, because you won some national championships with a top tier team and that is consistently successful. And that's the other thing too. It wasn't a fluke, right? Like
Right,
Alabama is consistently in the top rankings every single year, year in, year out. And so
right,
that's why I want to ask you that question, because there's a lot of people that will say that, but they've never played past high school in football,
right,
so they don't understand more than a state championship, maybe if they were lucky. So that's amazing, man. And I agree with you 100%. There's nothing like being a dad, and there's
yeah,
nothing more frustrating. It'll bring you to your lowest lows and your highest highs all in the same day, and sometimes within the same 5 minutes. It's
exactly,
so
exactly.
frustrating.
It's
But
like,
yeah, exactly. Yep. Or when you see the things in your children that you're like, I can't even really get mad at you because that's me. Like
yep,
that's me coming out in you right now.
yep,
Yeah, that's funny,
exactly,
man. That
exactly.
that's awesome. So so you have three children. Your youngest just overcame something pretty intense with RSV. And so
Yeah,
that's always scary for any parent.
dude,
What would you say? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that that was super scary and a parent's worst nightmare.
Hmm.
Seeing your kid in a super vulnerable position like that, and there's essentially nothing you can do to make your child feel better. That was tough.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. I've had moments where, my children have been sick and they've never had RSV, but asthma attacks and things along those lines. And it's rough because as a dad, you're supposed to be the protector, the provider, and the presider of the family. And you literally can't do anything other than make sure they have the medicine they need. They've got the correct doctors, you've got a good hospital, good nurses, etc. And it
Right,
it sucks when it's kind of out of your control. Not You don't even have to be a control freak kind of person, but being a dad, you want to protect your children.
right,
Maybe not from the normal scratches and nicks they may get from going on a hike or something, but when it's literally life or death situations, that can be super intense and rough for sure. So you've got three children. Um, and then how old's your oldest?
he is 7. He'll turn 8 May 8th.
Oh, that's awesome. May is a great month.
Yeah,
So yeah, I've got an 8-year-old as well, and that's a very interesting age. I don't know if your 7-year-old's in any much like mine, where he's a lawyer. I mean, he's gonna question everything, man. He plays the word game. He's like, Dad, you told me to go put it in my room. Well, I put it in my room. I didn't put it away, but I put it in my room. Like crap like that all the time, all the time. But what are some things that you're doing with your children to get them? And I've seen some of the things, but I want you to share them that you're doing with your children as they get older, age appropriate stuff to get them in the outdoors and to create, a better human being for the community.
well, some things I do to get them outdoors. We have a dog. First things first, we're gonna start with something small, age appropriate. We'll take them on walks. We go to the park, and then from there, I just increase it to something else. We're going on a hike. We might go on a half mile, 3/4 mile hike. Something that's not going to be super physically challenging for the kids, but just something to get them outside and look at nature, what we have that God blessed us with to look at, right? And to enjoy for our lives. Um, and now I have a 3-year-old. I'm gonna start getting him out. I'll probably start taking him out, both my boys out hunting in the spring. Start hunting for pigs again. Um, won't let him pull the trigger, but I'm gonna just let him be around that and experience it with me. Show him how to field dress an animal, how to skin an animal. Like I said, like they won't be able to do it for a few more years, but I just want them around that to experience and then be there with me because it's not about my perspective. Hunting is not about harvesting an animal. It's more about the memories with who's at your camp, your buddies, your kids, whatever, whoever you're with. And so I'll be with my boys and I want to, make these memories with them and instill these things into them. That way they can then, when they have kids, turn around and do it for the next generation. And some things, to answer your next question, some things that I teach them, some lessons like I'll give you an example. My 7-year-old decided he wanted to talk back to me. Said, okay, well, I'm not much
Sorry,
into
just
the
real quick. I'm going to pause you there. I would be scared to talk back to you. Your 7-year-old's got some balls, man. If he's talking
uh,
back to his
uh,
6'5" defensive lineman dad right there.
dude, he said it and ran. I was like, buddy, we're not doing that. And so I told him, I said, well, you're going to learn a lesson from this today because you don't talk back to daddy. He said, well, what lesson do I got to learn? I said, you see this bucket? I'm going to give you some gloves. We're going to walk around the neighborhood. You're going to pick up trash until there's no more trash in the neighborhood. He said, I don't want to. I said, I didn't ask you if you want to. I'm telling you, this is what you're going to do. I tell them, there are things in life you have to understand. There are consequences for your actions. And if you don't understand this now, 15 years from now, I don't want to, I don't want you to call me from jail or, to come bail you out because some you did something stupid and now you're in jail. No, we gonna learn these lessons now so we can avoid that. And so I always do things like that. You know, you're gonna learn a lesson in everything in life, in my perspective. And if I can teach you something out of every situation, I'm definitely gonna take the opportunity to do that. If we can talk about it, we're gonna talk about it. If we have to get a little dirty, we will. If I had to take off my belt, you know, I gotta do that. But
Yep.
I don't want to have to read about. I don't want my kids to be the problem child in any situation because there's too many. Like you turn on the news, you see it every day, and I don't want that to be my kids.
Yep.
I want better. I want better for them. So these are the lessons that we're gonna teach now, so we don't have to worry about that in 10, 15 years from now.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that, man. That's a good example. That's exactly what I was gonna say. That I saw that the other day that you posted about walking him around with a bucket and he had to pick up garbage. It's not an awful punishment, but for a 7-year-old having to walk around and pick up someone else's stuff, that's not fun. No one wants to do that. And so I think that's an amazing lesson. And I love, again, you've got that foresight. You've always been thinking about that's what you wanted to change. You were literally changing your family tree,
Right,
financially and just providing them better opportunities than you were given. You earned a whole bunch of opportunities, but you didn't really have a bunch provided to you. And so you're changing that. You're fulfilling that goal that your high school self had. And so that's amazing, man. I love to see people given that follow through and 20 years later looking back and they're just saying, man, I'm glad I kept with whatever it was that it was. And so that's amazing. That's awesome to hear. And I love seeing, I guess, well, and hearing you say that you're going to take him out and he may not be behind the gun or, a bow or anything like that, but he's going to get that experience, in the outdoors. And I think that's super key as well, because kids, maybe they don't want to hunt. And, that's
right,
something that obviously I would hope that doesn't happen to my kids, but it happens. And at least they'll have the opportunity to go with me
right,
and see the exciting parts and but as of right now I've been lucky, and my two youngest kids anyway, actually my three youngest kids have been interested. They've gone and done a couple hunts with me, and I made them clean the animal with me, which generally that would turn people away from hunting, and they
right.
were okay with it. They weren't excited, which I don't think anyone is. That's kind of the work part of hunting, but you
Right.
know, they were accepting of it. So you know, it's good to get people, or to get your kids into it at a younger age, to walk them through the idea of, you know, when you should and shouldn't shoot, you know, kind of what are the ethics behind it. And once they get those lessons ingrained in them, they may not remember the exact day that it was taught to them, but they're going to know that dad taught me this, or dad's friends that came with us taught me this, or, you know, and they're going to be more, at least more ethical human beings and respect life a lot more, for sure.
Right. 100% agree with you.
That's awesome.
Like I got my first elk back in September
Mm-hmm.
in Idaho. And I told my 3-year-old, I told both my boys, like, hey, daddy's going elk hunting. I'm gonna bring back an elk and we're gonna eat him. And so I harvested the elk. I got a Euro mount of the head and the horns. And every time he sees the Euro mount, he said, "Daddy, we gonna eat that elk."
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I said, "Yes, sir."
That's
He
awesome.
want so funny, dude. Kids
That's so
are
cool.
kids are awesome.
Yeah. So that was your first elk. Let's I guess let's go kind of more into the outdoor side of things here, just to kind of wrap things up. So with hunting, okay, what got you? Or you mentioned you got into archery because of more opportunities,
Mhm.
which is ironic because there's not many bow opportunities for you with the stats that you've got with your draw length and everything. But you got that figured out. You got a good company that's working with you to get things custom made. It's kind of like man, the first time I heard Shaquille O'Neal's shoe size and that he had to get those things cut, like it just blows my mind just thinking about that. And anyway, so you're into hunting, you're out in California. I guess what would be, if you had to pick one dream hunt that you could go on, rifle, archery, shotgun, whatever, one dream hunt that you could go on, what would that hunt be, and what game animal would that be?
Dude, I'd say probably brown bear hunting in Alaska. That would probably be the ultimate for sure.
With a knife? That way.
I'll take my chances with a knife, but I'll definitely go either bow or rifle, either one. I'm pretty confident with both.
That's awesome. You said brown bear.
Yeah,
Yeah. So for people out there listening, I'm sure most people do understand this, but grizzly bears are big, right? But they
most
are kind of a cousin, or I guess a sibling of the brown bear. The brown bear is the one that you see, like the one, was it this last year or the year before, where the guy, him and his wife were hiding behind a rock as this 10-foot bear came charging at him. After I think he shot him with a bow, and that didn't work. So he had to pump some lead into him with his 10 millimeter, or maybe it was a 44 mag, something like that. But anyway, long story short, they ended up surviving. But the brown bears are the ones that get like massive, you know.
yeah,
And so that's interesting. I didn't think that would be the one that you would pick, but it kind of makes sense. Okay.
yeah. I would definitely that'd be the one for me, and I'll get him stuff
Yeah.
full body mount for sure.
You'll put them in the timeout corner for your kids, right? You got to go stand under the bear every
You
time
gonna
you're in trouble.
you gonna you gonna go to the corner with the bear. Go to the bear.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Name him Nick Saban too, by
Oh,
the
got to put the hat on him too.
way. That's awesome, man. That's a cool one. I honestly, I ask a lot of people that, and I have yet to hear brown bear hunt. So that's really cool to hear. So is there anything that you would like to share that we haven't discussed, we haven't talked about with the audience, kind of to wrap things up? Your final thoughts, or just a message you'd like to share?
Yeah, I got a message. I would say, in life, we only get to do this thing one time. And if there's something in life you want to do, I think you should go for it, honestly. In order to get somewhere that you want to go, you have to do something that you have never done. Just let that sink in for a minute. In order to get somewhere where you want to go in life, you have to do something you've never done before. And so if there's goals that people have, separate themselves or, dream vacations, jobs, whatever, like you can accomplish that, but it's gonna take a little bit of effort and go for it.
I love it. I love it. That's so true. I mean, you're the embodiment of that. Like, you, from a young age, you were in a situation that if you had stayed in that situation, who knows where you would be right now. But I know you
Exactly.
for a fact you wouldn't be where you are. And
Right.
so you had to change something that that was your current situation. You changed, you enjoyed, you started to enjoy, or at least pretended to enjoy fitness long enough to get you into college, right? And then you
Hmm.
just kept showing up, and then you did something different. You went from not even thinking you were going to make it to college to making it through a great college career, getting a degree, multiple rings, and only losing 4 games, and into getting into the NFL,
Hmm.
which is something that your younger self couldn't have even imagined. And
At
so
all.
you did all these different things, just like what you were saying, different than what your current situation was at that moment, so that you could grow and become the man that you are now. So that's amazing, dude. So the only other thing that I would say is we need to get you out of California, and you need to you need to come a little bit further east, not so far east as Alabama, but you need to come over to, like, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming kind of area. So I can't guarantee
I
the
do.
weather like you've got down there in San Francisco, but everything else is better.
That's okay. I'll bring a jacket.
Well, us married guys, we understand it's not necessarily us, it's the women that we need to keep warm.
This is true. This is true. I played in Green Bay, so I'll just give my jacket to the wife.
There you go. There you go. I hear that, man. Yeah, definitely don't have to deal with those cold weathers out here. Um, well, great, man. I really appreciate your time today. I really do. I know you've got lots going on, and the fact that you're able to take some time out, and that you reached out to me to talk about hunting. Again, I can't say that enough. I didn't think it was real. Like, I was like, why? Why? There's an ex NFL player reaching out. Like, this got to be one of those scams, right? Is he asking for anything? Like, what? But
No,
looked you up and everything. It was legit. You're an awesome guy, very down to earth. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing. With the audience. Where can they find you if they want to look you up and get in contact with you?
you can find me on Instagram or Quinton Dial 92 and on Facebook. I think Quinton Dial 92 as well. I got the blue check, so you'll be able to find me.
Awesome. Awesome. Sweet. Well, I appreciate it again, man. I'll leave the links down below, guys, for you guys to look up Quinton. He is just an awesome individual. He's outstanding guy. Family man, has had an amazing career so far, loves the outdoors, and we're gonna get him out of California here pretty soon. So all
Here we go.
right. Well, like I always say, guys, get out, live your life, and love it.